Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be trying to start a new mini-series that we're going to be calling Why You Should Watch.
Yep.
And we're going to try and talk about the positives about certain series that maybe are either controversial or don't quite get the love. So today we're going to go with Star Trek Prodigy, which has been in the news quite a bit in the last year with its... It wasn't even cancelled, was it? It's just kind of been shelved, Series 2, or they're looking for another boy. No one really 100% knows. So to start from an outsider's view. So I've only recently watched Prodigy. You watched it as it came out, as it aired. So I was going to start off with probably the reasons why I didn't watch it in the first place. Probably the similar reasons why a lot of people maybe aren't watching it so far, which is, one, it's been marketed as a kids show for Nickelodeon. Two, I wasn't so keen. I saw pictures of the character designs. They seemed very far out from what I was used to with Trek. So that's another thing that I was like, So these are all kind of elements that I'm like, well, and it seemed very disconnected from everything else to do with Trek. Having said that, I did watch the first episode when it did air.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I felt like, and if you watch it, you might think the same, and this is why I'm going to say give it more than one episode. I thought it felt more like something like Star Wars than it did Star Trek. It's set in places that we haven't seen before at all in Star Trek. So it felt very, very, very disconnected. It didn't feel like it had anything to do with Star Trek, essentially. Yep. Right up until the end when they find something that does connect it to Star Trek a little bit more. But either way, tonally and everything else, it felt like, one, not part of Trek, and two, it felt like a kid's show. So I stopped watching. You carried on watching. And every week kept saying, you need to watch this, you need to watch this.
Yep.
There came a certain point where you got extremely excited and were like, oh my God, you absolutely need to watch this, and I can't stress this enough. Then you started telling me that it was one of the best new Treks, period.
Yeah.
So where would you put it on the list of new Treks?
I mean, this is prior to Picard season 3.
Yeah.
To point out. So, if we're saying shows, and I know there's more than 5, but it would be in my top 5 Star Trek shows, which I know there's probably not much more than that when you think about it, but it would rank higher up in third, fourth place. There are certain things that it does well, connects to things very well, and basically jogs your memory. I think the most important thing about it is when you start watching it, like you say, it's a kids show, and then the stories every week are just so...
This is it. It starts to get far more complicated in its plot lines. So and high concept as well. So it's got certain episodes which I'm sitting watching it going, is this a kids show? Because that's quite a hard science fiction concept. So there are episodes that deal with time dilation and things like time dilation episode, and a lot of the episodes ended up being more complicated in their in the premise than, say, anything in Strange New Worlds was.
Yeah.
To a point where the plot lines I felt were more fair enough, maybe the characters necessarily aren't, but the plot lines felt more adult than some of the ones I was getting in Strange New Worlds, which occasionally felt quite infantile.
Well, yeah, and I think the thing is, these characters, like you said, they're not adults.
No.
But the situations they've been put in, that they're having to grasp a lot and get their heads around a lot, and I don't want to spoil too much of the plot for people, but they're running away from one thing towards another.
Yeah.
And again, they're all kids. Literally.
They do become more likeable as it goes on as well.
And they're mature. There is character growth for every one of them, even the more annoying ones.
This is it, the characters which I started out thinking, I've really got to watch an entire series of this, with the characters behaving how they are, particularly the central character.
Yeah.
Del, who is pretty great particularly in episode 1. Yeah. Has a very definite character progression as it goes through, and he has to deal with the struggles of being a leader and people relying on you and things like that.
He's literally like a leader of a friendship group, isn't he? He's not a captain, and he's not a thing. So they do all look to him for that sort of emotional and moral support, which is what people look to a captain for. And then they're put in these situations where even the best Starfleet crews struggle in some of the situations, and face off against some people that you wouldn't expect to see pop up and various bits and pieces like that. So, like you say, it's high concept sci-fi that just
was going to say, there are elements of it being a kid show, but the more you get into it, the less and less and less and less it feels like a kid show.
I mean, I haven't got kids, and obviously I did watch it down. But if I'd sat down as a Star Trek fan, thinking, "Oh, I'll put this on for my kids," and thinking to myself, "Oh, I'll watch it with them," because and then I'd get to a point where I'm like, oh, if you get the kids, I'm watching. Like, that's where I've got.
Well, I was going to say, I'm beginning to think that this was. I don't want to say missold, but you know how like the Orville was originally pitched as a comedy? Yeah. And Seth MacFarlane basically just wanted to make Star Trek. So they pitched it forward as a comedy, and as the series went on, they dropped and it's now what he wants it to be. I feel like this is a similar kind of thing. It's been pitched as, it's a show for children. Here's episode 1. It's very like, it's very like action and all this. And then as it goes on, it starts to drop off to the point where, again, without too many spoilers, part of me is wondering who this show's aimed at. Like, I'm watching it now, and there are so many deep cuts to previous Star Trek series, and I mean deep cuts, and not just like in Lower Decks where it's just, a little skit in the background. They will do a whole episode based around things to do with past Star Treks that I'm thinking, what kids aren't going to have any clue. Yeah. So without a little bit of spoiler, one of the last few episodes that I watched had a Galileo shuttle. Yeah.
Yes.
And the people on the planet are all behaving like Kirk and Sulu and Spock and things. And kids watching this aren't going to have a clue who Kirk, Sulu, Spock are, Galileo ships. And that's the premise of the episode. It's not just like a member berry or anything. That is the point of the episode. There's episodes featuring the Borg and things like that, which was really well executed as well. So again, like I said, I'm watching it, and the more and more I watch, I'm like, is this for adults or is it for kids? Who's it for?
And again, you're saying like cutting into like deep cuts into Trek. The Borg episode, giving anything away, they come across them. Obviously, we all know it's set after Voyager, so it's not a spoiler to say this is after the virus has been introduced to the collective.
So it's post Nemesis before Picard.
Yeah,
yes.
So it's in that gap, and so to have that sort of like that thing, like you say, these deep cuts where the show explains it really well as well. In that Borg episode, just as an example, they go, "Oh, this is what happened." Type, like without, and they don't dumb it down.
No, I was going to say, I guess it can work for kids.
Yeah,
I'm viewing it from a fan's perspective.
But like so,
I think basically one of the if we're answering the question, why should you watch Star Trek Prodigy? It's because Star Trek Prodigy, I don't feel is necessarily the kids show that it's marketed as. I feel like Star Trek Prodigy, once you get past the age of the central characters, is a Star Trek show.
Yeah, it's a family show.
Through and through.
Family show is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Compared to the modern Treks, which are targeted more at adults. I'd say it's a family show.
I would say if you were going to give it a try, give it at least till episode 5, I believe. Yeah. Is that Kobayashi Maru? I think is episode 5. At least give it till then, and you will understand what I am talking about, I think.
And that's a quarter of the series. It's 20 episodes. Yeah. So you can get a quarter. You can give it a fair chance.
Well, we were going to say, wasn't it, as well? It had a mid-season break between episode 10 and 11.
Yes.
Which I feels like it doesn't feel like Series 1, Part 1 and 2. To me, it feels like Series 1 and Series 2, even though Series 2 hasn't actually aired.
It's pretty much a year.
They get new uniforms. The series gets a new kind of thrust.
Yeah.
They finish a lot of the plot lines in episode 10. Yeah. You could totally watch episodes 1 to 10 as a series. It does end on a slight cliffhanger, but you could totally watch it like that. So I feel like they do feel like two completely separate series. I'm all for that, because it means that if Series 2 is the same, we'll effectively be getting, in new Trek terms, 4 series. But if you count it like that, because they've mostly been 10. So far, I haven't quite finished Series 2. I've been binging it, and it's just as good, if not better. Well, it's better than Series 1 so far. And once they've got the uniforms and everything else, it ramps it up. It feels even more like Star Trek.
I just think
they're coming to more areas that the Federation are. So as it goes on, it becomes more and more and more. But if you are a fan of Star Trek, you really owe it to yourself to give it a go.
If you don't give it a chance,
because I think there's a lot more here than you maybe think there is, because literally I kept messaging you in after every episode. I was like, oh my god, this is it. This has just happened. You're like, yeah, I did. I was trying not to tell you, but this happens. I'm like, yeah, oh my god.
And the irony about that was me messaging you when I watched it when it originally aired. Like, this is and it just so many things happen that you're like.
But I was hesitant. I'd watched that first episode, and I just kept, you kept saying it was good, and I didn't really listen to it. I get why you didn't want to spoil too much. It probably would have made me watch it. But I'm kind of glad that you didn't.
I could have gone, this happened. Yeah, exactly. And you probably would have gone, I'll watch that. But because it's big spoilers, which But
again, I feel for the makers. How do you market it without spoiling it? Which is the main thing, the main reason to watch this. Which I haven't even said what the main reason to watch this is yet. They can't market it without spoiling the surprise. Yeah. And at the same time, I don't think it found its market because they didn't. But anyone that did watch it organically will have got to that point and gone, "Oh my god, that's an incredible thing to keep hidden."
Yeah.
So,
with that in mind,
we're going to talk about the other. Okay, I'm going to put a jump somewhere on the screen. So if you don't want to spoil, probably the biggest thing about this series, you can just jump straight to the end, which will be like summing up. If you're not convinced, I think you should carry on watching, regardless of it being a spoiler, because this thing might be the thing that pushes you over the edge to give it a go, because it would be the thing that would work for me. But just bear in mind, it is a big spoiler. So, having said that, Star Trek Prodigy is essentially a sequel to Star Trek Voyager.
Yep,
we've got characters from Star Trek Voyager appearing in it.
Yep.
It picks up the story of Janeway. Janeway's hunting for Chakotay, who's become lost.
Well, that's the clever thing. The marketing for the show was hologram
Janeway. Hologram Janeway.
And again, spoilers. Halfway through the season, when this episode 10 cut to episode 11, Admiral Janeway comes into the show and she's on the hunt basically for Chakotay, who's gone missing.
Yep, and it's the ship that they are using was Chakotay's ship.
Yes, the Protostar. It took me a while to wrap my head around it. I get it, but it's like he went back into the past.
That's right, because
this is the Protostar.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff to do with time travellers, and the main villain of the piece. Well, again,
that's complex.
Complex is attempting to stop something that hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
Core Star Trek stuff. This is not necessarily kids show stuff again. But essentially, if you've ever wanted to know what happened, because let's face it, let's be honest, the ending to Voyager left a bit to be desired.
Yeah.
As far as finding out what happened to the characters, it's always been a bit of a sticking point. If you ever wanted to know what happened, because I get the feeling, well, I don't know, but quite possibly a lot more characters from it will turn up. We don't know who's in Series 2 fully yet. But if you ever wanted to know what happened to characters from Voyager or pick up from threads from that, this is the series to do it, and it is 100% a spin-off of Star Trek Voyager. And yes, seeing the whole thing tie into established 90s Trek history now, from going from what I felt was completely isolated and nothing to do with anything whatsoever,
so clever,
in every single way, to it now being, I'd argue, other than Picard Series 3, I'd argue that it's the closest to Prime Trek.
That's what I said.
All of them.
Yeah.
And is kind of essential viewing if you're a fan of 90s Trek.
If you're going to give it a try, give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it'll come back to streaming, and then if you're watching this a few months from now,
you can
go and watch it.
A low cost way of doing it.
But I would think if you are willing to spend £7 or £8 on a streaming service per month, and I have a lot of Trek DVDs that I don't watch. I collect them because I'm a Trekkie. Then I would say add it to your collection. Worst case scenario, it's there. But definitely watch it.
I would say pick up the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I am, for I think 9 out of 10 people, I think if you know some of the things we've said, if any of those things appeal to you, you will like it. And if not, you can always put the Blu-ray on eBay and get rid of it.
Yeah.
And the fact the show's been deleted from streaming services,
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah,
maybe sit on it for a while. It might become more in value, go up in value if you don't like it. But absolutely give it a try. I don't think that you will be disappointed.
Or if you've got another Star Trek friend and you don't like it,
same.
So give this a whirl.
But in all honesty, as long as you make it past episode 5, I don't think you'll be disappointed.
No.
And fair enough, there might be a bit of a slog to get there, but they're short episodes as well, aren't they? 20 minutes long. So we're only talking like maybe 2 hours to get to that point. I know it's a bit of a time sink, but once you get to that point, I think it will start to reveal just how much the people writing this show understand Trek as a whole. I mean, it's way more than some of the... I like Strange New Worlds, but I'd go as far as saying the people that do in Prodigy understand Star Trek and its lore.
Hageman Brothers,
could be, better than the people that are doing Strange New Worlds. And I'd like Strange New Worlds, but I do feel like these guys are a little more, I won't say reverential, but... They seem to be playing in the playground without rocking the boat too much.
I just think it's ironic that the best Star Trek shows...
Consistency.
Left tangent for a second, or right tangent. Man.
Yeah.
The best shows have been written by the people that understand Trek. I mean, Star Trek Picard, Tony Mattel's season 3.
Yeah.
He loves Star Trek. He's worked on it for years, on and off. We all know how that was. Mike McMahon is a Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
Lower Decks.
Yeah.
And then this.
Yeah.
They are fans. They've said this phrase. They've always wanted to do a Star Trek show.
Yeah, it's true. All of those you could go leap straight from watching. Again, 90s or Trek to these with relative ease. Probably why, I'm a 90s Trek fan through and through, and they're the ones that, for me, I find the most consistent to watch out of all of them, the least frustrating to watch.
And I'm glad you've got around to watching it, because what we're saying is what I was saying to you, so therefore
that's why we decided
worked.
This is why we decided to do it. I sat watching it, and I'm getting back, like I said, I'm about 3/4 of the way through series 2, and I'm like, we need to talk about this, because I slept on it for far too long, and if enough people sleep on it, it's probably why they pulled the plug on it so early. But again, they were stuck with how they market it. Do you reveal too much or don't you reveal too much? So absolutely give it a try. I beg you to give it a try, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, because I know I was stunned.
So I think
with it.
I think overall, then, what we're saying is, don't necessarily think it's an overall kids show.
Yep.
It's got deeper cuts to Star Trek than you would think.
Yep.
Obviously, give it a chance. I just watch it.
So from the title of the video, that is why you should watch Star Trek Prodigy. That's why you should give it a chance. And like I said, we're going to do a series of these, and you probably might not agree with everything we say in them, but we're going to try. I'm trying to look at certain things maybe that either people don't like or I don't like from another point of view, and see what are the positives, because I know some things are contentious.
We've had a lot of negativity in the fan community over the last few years, so I think where we're at now is trying to make things a bit more positive. Yeah,
I don't think there's anything wrong with being negative about something you love, but we're
not saying we've loved every episode of Trek.
Far from it.
But we're going to give it our best to try and give you a reason why.
So hopefully you've enjoyed this, and you will join us for the next one, whatever that may be about. I don't have a clue yet. If you could like and subscribe, that would be amazing. So thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Prosper.
Bye.